a lot of us are starting to see some really great weekly activity points. All of you are working really hard. You're very busy, but sometimes that means that we get kind of stuck in a rut and our day kind of feels like it's controlling us. I know Monday for a lot of us yesterday was very busy. And so kind of learning how to start focusing on time management and also focusing on our best times for prospecting, not just phone calls, but texting. We're also going to touch a little bit on the ringless voicemails, which have been working pretty well for a lot of you. So we're going to kind of just jump in here and get started. So this talks here about, let me minimize this. Sounds like a drone. I'm just going to mute everyone here. Okay, there we go. So this just talks about kind of the small, smart choices and consistency that really make a radical difference in our day-to-day, just our work days, every day that we come in and kind of what we focus on. Has anyone on the call read The Compound Effect?
What are you calling me for then?
No, I have the book. I haven't read it yet.
Okay, it's really good. It's short. It's a pretty quick read, but it just talks about with anything really in life. It's not just with work, but if you're trying to get into shape, or if you're if you're trying to work on a relationship, or you're trying to learn a new skill or learn the guitar, whatever it is, it's all kind of the small little choices. So we got a little bit of background noise. Someone's talking. Is someone talking with you?
Well, there's someone on the other side of my wall talking. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you might just want to mute it. Sorry, it's just.
Well, I was muted until you unmuted me.
Okay, good. Thanks. Speaking of getting in shape, I was talking with Tom Aubrey earlier, and he said, "Are you upset or something?" I said, "No, I'm just running down the stairs. I must be out of shape." And he said, "Well, to be fair, round is a shape." So, thanks, Tom. That was very nice. That's what we get to deal with here. Okay, so this is a neat kind of analogy of just where your nose is pointed. So this was kind of for all of you engineers or math brains, if the nose of a plane is pointed just 1% off course when it leaves LA for New York, so it's headed for New York, it's just 1% off, it will end up in Delaware once it gets there. So it's a pretty obvious example, but just of the really small changes that sometimes we feel like we're not that far off course. But over time, repeated daily, sometimes we can get pretty far off course. Conversely, if we just do the small positive changes every day, we'll end up exactly where we want to be. So I love this analogy. I know a lot of you drink coffee or tea, or if you have anything that even a soda daily. So compounded, if you bought a $4 coffee every day at Starbucks or your favorite coffee house, over 20 years, that's $51,833. So that's pretty crazy. Now, some of us are willing to pay that because maybe that's what we enjoy. But, it's just the little things. $4 doesn't seem like a lot, but when you repeat it every day over 20 years, I mean, that's a pretty nice nest egg for some people. So we're going to talk about today kind of what choices matter. So, I've talked to people that say, I just don't have more time. I don't know what else I could do. Today was so busy, it got away from me. And then you look up and it's Thursday and now it's Saturday and maybe you only set 3 appointments for the week. So we talk about, well, let's say you're working 5 or 6 days, but let's say you work just one more day per week. So in some of your markets, you work Sundays. Most of us don't. But let's say you say, okay, I'm going to work every Saturday. All right. So this breaks down. It's pretty interesting. 10 more conversations in that extra day that you're working equals another appointment. Most of you are setting at least one appointment for every 10 conversations. Some are even better than this, so this is pretty conservative, but that's one appointment per week. One appointment then per week equals 2 more sales per month. That's assuming about a 50%. I actually did this at an 80% stick rate for the appointments, and then about a 50% closing ratio. So it's still pretty conservative. So that's 2 more sales per month. 2 more sales then at a $5,000 average sale is 10,000 in monthly volume. So that's nice. Another 10,000 in volume. And then that equals 120,000 in annual volume. which brings you another $9,600 in commission. Also as important is 24 more families are prepared for such a difficult day. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, one more day per week, I can make another $9,600, right? But let's say you're like me and you don't want to work 7 days a week. Some days you're not able to work 6 days a week. Maybe you've got plans for a Saturday, or you need to take a Monday or Tuesday off. So maybe you're not wanting to work 7 days a week. Well, I've got good news for you. So this was the math that I did that was pretty astounding to me. So if we, instead of working an extra day per week, if we instead just have an extra 5 conversations per day. Now this means either you come in a little earlier, you during your lunch break maybe send out 100 text messages instead of making calls during that time, but maybe you had a slow morning, or you just stay an extra hour at night when you know you can reach more people, after that 4 p.m., that 4 to 7 p.m. time frame. So if you say every day I'm going to now have 5 conversations, that will result in a half of appointment set per day. So because we know 10 conversations is 1 appointment. So 10 every 2 days. So you're setting 1 appointment basically every other day. So that's another 3 appointments per week. Those 3 appointments per week then equal 1.2 sales per week, which is then 5 sales per month. We're doing 4.5 weeks per month. So 5 sales per month. Assuming an average sale of 5,000. Now, some of you have a higher average, some are slightly lower, but we're just being conservative. That's 25,000 in monthly volume. That 25,000 equals another 300,000 in annual volume, which is 24,000 in commission. So, and 60 more families that are helped, which, back to Scott's point about the referrals and sort of that's its own separate compound effect. But if you really look at that, just the importance, and wow, 5 conversations per day, you can sell another 300,000 and you can make another 24,000 in commission. So any thoughts from anyone on that? Has anyone kind of seen this before or ran the numbers? All right, I think everyone might still be muted. So there's a lot of things we can do to try to get more sales, and we get very creative. We do a lot of outreach. We do a lot of events, but sometimes we get away from just the basics of if I'm talking to enough people. So ideally we want to set, and for some of you that are a little bit newer, we want to set 2 appointments per day, every day. If you set 2 appointments per day, the numbers just work out that you will, depending on your average sale, you will be between $700,000 and $1 million a year. That's just the way it works, but it has to be consistent and it has to be every day. So if in addition to those 2 appointments, you stay and make an extra, now you've made your 2 appointments, but then I'm not going to leave until I have 5 more conversations. That's all you have to focus on is the conversations. That will get you to another 300,000 in volume, which is 24,000 in commission. So I really liked these numbers because they're just, it's not so overwhelming. It's just the key is that daily consistency. So momentum is a powerful thing. I know we live in a different day and age where we don't have merry-go-rounds much anymore. Does anyone remember the merry-go-round? Too many lawsuits, I guess. But consistency is the key to achieving and maintaining momentum. It's not the big things that add up in the end. It's the hundreds, thousands, even millions of little things that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. The hardest part about momentum is the beginning, but like pushing a merry-go-round on the playground, once you get moving, you can keep it going very easily. I've heard a couple versions of this analogy. One actually was, I think it was from Travis, but it's about, a rocket or a spaceship going into space. They use 80% of all their fuel just getting up into space. Now, once they're in space and they're orbiting, they might use a little bit here or there just to kind of nudge them forward and move them along. But most of that energy is spent getting up there in the first place. Same with an airplane. If you think about when an airplane takes off, how much thrust and push and, all the fuel that gets burned just getting into the air. Once you're at 10,000 feet, then you can kind of coast. You might have to, push a little bit here and there, but that's the easy part once you're in the air. So for those of you getting started, we talk a lot about the first few months sometimes can be a little overwhelming. It can feel difficult, but that's a relatively short amount of time. Once you get past that first few months, you start to go, okay, I can wrap my head around this. I get it. I feel like I could answer most questions. And then it's just more of a matter of coasting and kind of keeping your foot on that gas, but just slowly, every now and then give yourself a little bit of a boost. But once you've created that momentum, that's the most important part. So Angie, we talked about her last week, but she went to Hawaii. She knew that she was going to lose momentum if she didn't get ahead of it. So she made a big push before she left to call. She had high points, and then getting back, she jumped right back into it and had, well over 120 points last week. So just being aware of that, not letting your momentum die. The hardest thing is getting to an empty calendar. You don't have any promising leads to follow up with, and you feel like you're starting from the beginning. So be aware of your momentum. And if you feel like you're struggling getting that momentum, call us, let us know. That's what we're here for. So you all, or not all, maybe some of you have seen this before, but this was the calendar that I sort of followed when I first started. Anyone on the call that's not muted, does anyone have a calendar they follow for themselves that they try to stick to each week?
I do, Erin.
Oh, great. Who was that?
Diana.
Hi, Diana. So can you talk a little bit about what yours looks like?
Every Monday from 9 to 12 is prospecting. Yesterday, actually, it was from 9 till about 3 in the afternoon. I did calls all day long.
Great.
Had an appointment this morning. I'm going to be running calls this afternoon. I've got an appointment tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So midday, I'll be calling. So whenever I have free time, I sit down and call.
I love it.
Do as many as possible.
Yeah. Do you usually keep your Monday mornings open for prospecting?
Yes.
Me too. I did the same thing. I intentionally didn't schedule appointments for Monday mornings. A couple things. Usually you're setting that appointment obviously Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. But once the weekends got ahead of them, the rate of no-show or cancellation on Monday mornings tended to be a little higher anyways. But I just felt like people, they're kind of back in work mode. They're getting stuff done. I always found a pretty good reception on Monday mornings. Plus, I liked the idea, like Diana said, just stacking, just get in. You have one huge heavy day of prospecting. In a way, it kind of takes the pressure off the rest of the week. Do you find that, Diana?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love Monday and Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday are my duty days. So I try and book those heavy with appointments. And if I'm not booked, then I'm prospecting all day. And then Thursday is another day. I try and prospect as much as I can. I like to set appointments those days as well.
Yes.
And then Friday morning is always prospecting. And Saturday morning.
Yes, always Saturday morning. Awesome. Thank you, Diana. Does anyone else follow anything close to this or different that works for you? Okay, so I'll just briefly go through this, but it's very important that the mornings are open for prospecting. Sometimes it's easy to get in and we have busy work and catch up and things we need to do and people we need to call that frankly we could call in the afternoon. I'm a big list person. I wake up first thing in the morning and I write down everything that's in my brain that I need to do. So today I need to call for Jacob's a doctor appointment. I need to call his coach. I've got some people I need to follow up with, some app calls, some interviews. All of that I can do this afternoon. So my important stuff, the people that I needed to talk to, I had to get ready for this, the things I know, I do that in the morning. I now have my list, so I'm not stressed out that I'm going to forget it. But sometimes we get in and we let the mornings take over, and then we look up, it's 11:30 before we're making our first prospecting call. We all know how hard it is anyways to get people on the phones. We don't want to make it harder by calling in kind of the naturally slower times. And even if you're texting or leaving voicemails, the mornings are great. So my Monday morning was heavy with calls. If I hadn't set 2 to 3 appointments, I would, like Diana, I would just keep calling into the afternoon. But then Monday night was my night I would set aside to run appointments. I didn't like to run appointments every single night when I first started. I had Jacob, I had a son at home, a little boy, and I didn't want to be gone every night. So I would try as much as possible to kind of really stack all of my evening appointments into one night, or if I had to spill over into another. But then Tuesday back to calling, prospecting, and then appointments. I'll just mute this. And then same with Wednesday. Now Wednesday night, if I always tried to have 2 nights per week that I was calling. If you are not calling in the evenings, you're missing out, especially on that younger age. As some of you are really trying to get your average age down, we know the commission's higher if we can get people in their 50s and 60s. But people are working now into their 70s, even early 80s. So if we're not calling at night, we're going to miss a pretty big segment of that population. And I don't mean till 9 at night. But if you just stay till 6 or 7 and make some calls, you'll find your number of appointments jump up significantly pretty quickly. Thursday morning, hopefully by now I'd had a few sales, so I do my catch up, any paperwork I needed to. If I had to go back to get a signature, I'm sure we've all been there. That was Thursday morning, back more appointments. And then Friday, same as Diana, Friday, a lot of people that do work, especially that are older, are off Fridays or work from home on Fridays. So I always had really good luck Friday morning. But by about mid-afternoon, I found it kind of tapered off. And if I was honest, I tried to, my son got out of school early on Friday, so I tried to be done by 2 on Fridays. And then I didn't run a lot of evening appointments on Fridays unless that was the only time they could meet. But when I first started my first year, I called every Saturday morning for about 2 to 3 hours. Once I got some really great momentum, I would taper it down, but I always called for at least an hour. And then I would, obviously you're going to run appointments on Saturdays because that's just the day that people are available. So I can send this, and this is recorded, but you don't have to mimic this, but you do have to have something. We've talked about this before, but make sure you have some sort of calendar. You're never going to be able to follow it perfectly, but just so that you have something in place, so you have an idea in your head of what your week, your days and your weeks are going to look like. So let's go to the next. So this is kind of a neat, this was out of the book, back to the compound effect, but sort of your success formula. And it talks about, so your choices, which are the decisions you make, the behaviors, the habits, and then kind of what that leads to. It's compounded over time. So sometimes we look at people that are really successful. You know, Javier is an example. A few people have called because he had 5 sales the other day, and wow, what's Javier's secret and what's he doing? And Javier is incredible and he's amazing, but he'll be the first to tell you he's just doing the work and he's doing it every day and he makes the calls and he doesn't let up. And if there was a magic pill, that's it. You know, we talk about, whenever I tell someone good luck, I mean it, because I know you're working hard and your habits are compounding over time and you find your own luck. So I really like this kind of, I'm just such a visual person, but just remember your choices, your behaviors, your habits, and then how that compounds over time. So here's 6 techniques for installing good habits. This is a quote by John Maxwell. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. I mean, you can't get up one day and decide to work 12 hours straight one day a week and become successful. It's really just about kind of, sometimes it feels like a grind, sometimes it feels easy. But if you just do that, whatever it is, the secret of your success will be found in your daily routine. So set yourself up to succeed. Any new habit has to work within your life and lifestyle. So a good example was, all right, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to join the gym. They had this in the book, but maybe you live in a small town and the closest gym is 10 to 15 miles away. Probably you're not going to succeed at that. If it doesn't make sense for you and your lifestyle, then you need to find a different way. Maybe you can walk in your neighborhood. Maybe you could get something you could do at home or some videos. But whatever your habits are, they have to work within your life. So if you know you want to prospect in the morning, but you get in and you know the funeral home's real busy on Monday morning and your desk is right next to the at-need director manager's desk, maybe you need to find a better space to make those calls so you can call from a quiet place. You know, whatever it is, whatever habits you want to establish, make sure your lifestyle supports them. So think about today. I love this one. So sometimes we get so overwhelmed by the big numbers. You know, we talk about, you know, the incentive trips for Mexico next year, which I'm hoping, I have no doubt a lot of you will make. That's $750,000. Now that sounds like a really big number, but if we don't break it down into kind of smaller pieces, we'll just get overwhelmed. We'll throw our hands up and we'll say we don't feel like we can do it. So 750,000 broken down over 12 months is actually only 62,500 broken down to 4.5 weeks is less than 14,000 a week. So then we say, oh, that's not really so bad. So if we're working 6 days a week, that's a $2,400 policy 6 days a week. And you get to where you need to be for the big Mexico incentive trip next year. So sometimes instead of thinking of the big picture, just think about today. So the main principle, I love this, is just think of things in a framework of 24 hours. What can I do today? What can I focus on today that won't overwhelm me? What can I control today? I like this. So go for PDA, a public display of accountability. Share your goals with someone. I know a lot of us talk with you talk with your managers. Some of you even on the team, have your own text groups and things going, but don't be afraid to share whatever your goals, whether it's a personal goal or a professional goal, if it's big or little. A lot of you text me every day. I love it. Okay, this is my goal for today. I've got 3 appointments. I'm going to sell 2 of them. I'm going to set 3 more appointments. I'm going to add 10 new leads. Like whatever your goal is, share that. Even if you don't reach it, it's okay. It's fun to share. Let's that's why we have WhatsApp. I love seeing you guys on there, sharing in your successes. Get a goal buddy. So find someone else either at your funeral home or someone on the team or someone but who also wants to create a positive change in their life. There's nothing worse than sharing your awesome, exciting goals with someone who's a real Debbie Downer and tells you everything that's going to go wrong. So find someone else who's interested in creating that positive change. Competition and camaraderie is fun. That's part of what we do with some of our conversations, even on WhatsApp, is just to make it fun, make it a friendly competition. I've seen some of you guys do that even between you. Okay, next one to set an appointment. I'll get you coffee, whatever it is. It breaks up that monotony. And then celebrate your successes. So take time to acknowledge just even the little milestones. If you just have a really exciting conversation, if you have a sale that said no, they didn't think they were going to do it. I know Armand, I talked to him yesterday about, I don't know if you guys saw, but he sold 7 away from home plans over the weekend. And it was some family of his, but they were all going on a trip, I think, to Italy. And he just said, you guys should do this. And he got one, and then they all decided to talk about it. And how exciting. I mean, to get 7 people to sign up for anything at once is incredible, but good job to him. So it's fun to kind of share and celebrate in that. So this was kind of neat. I like this. This was, I just looked this up last week, but according to research done at the University College of London, and it was published, it takes on average more than 2 months before a new behavior becomes automatic. So 66 days to be exact. There's, we hear the 21 days. There was movies about that. That's actually a myth. They've shown that it is not 21 days. It's actually 66 days. But in a way, I think that's encouraging because sometimes we feel like, oh, I've been doing this a few weeks. It doesn't feel like it's clicking yet. That's okay. It takes actually 66 days. So if you just focus on the 24-hour period, like we talked about, just know that it's day to day. And one day you'll look up and a couple months comes up pretty quick. 66 days, it's automatic. You get in, you start making your calls, you get comfortable with the scripts, the prospecting feels more natural. It will happen. Be patient. A lot of us spend many years repeating bad behaviors, so we have to be patient with ourselves, knowing it'll take some time to build good ones. So I like this bookending your days. I don't know if anyone else does this, but if there's 2 things you can kind of control, it's how your day starts and how it ends. So always, you want to start your day out being in control, saying this is what I'm going to focus on, but finish your most important tasks first. It's also back to the Brian Tracy. If any of you have read Eat That Frog, it talks about do your, least desirable tasks first. Get it out of the way, and then it's done. You don't have to think about it again. You can enjoy your afternoon. You can go do whatever else you wanted to do that you could focus on. And then at the end of the day, review your day. What did I do well? What could I have worked on? It doesn't have to be an hour-long thing, but take 4 minutes and just jot down a couple notes. This is what I'm going to focus on tomorrow. If nothing else, it'll allow you to regain control of your days so you don't feel like your days are controlling you. So what separates the most successful? People ask this a lot. They'll ask me or West, or you've all probably heard this. But a daily routine built on good habits and discipline celebrates the most successful among us from everyone else. A routine is exceptionally powerful. Whatever it is, if you look at actors, if you look at people, that that are in great shape. If you look at people, ventriloquists, if anyone watches America's Got Talent, any of those people have had a routine that they've had to practice and practice thousands of times to get to where they are. And that, at the end of the day, is what separates everyone. We'll hear people say, oh yeah, Vicky, she's a natural, or Aaron, you were born with it, or Javier or Joseph, or whoever it is on the team. It makes it, Diana has been doing this a long time. Diana just sounds so natural. She's just got it. Well, Diana's spent a lot of time practicing. She's had probably hundreds of failures before she finally figures it out. So sometimes we think someone is just naturally better. It's just not true. No one is naturally good at really anything. They have to put time in and practice. So don't give up and don't feel like you can't do that. So I like this. What 3 things will you commit to do every day? If you had to pick 3 things, if everyone has a pen and paper right now, are there 3 things that maybe you've already committed to them, but maybe it's worth just writing it down? But what are the 3 most important things that you feel like you can do every day? Is there anyone on the call that even wants to just say one? What's one thing you think you could commit to doing every day?
One, exercise.
Oh, love it. Exercise. Yes, I'm trying to work on that myself. So I am going to write that down with you. Good. Anyone else?
Eat a healthy breakfast.
Good. That one's hard. We have a Krispy Kreme right by my house, so that one can be difficult some days. Good. Okay. Anyone else?
Hey, Aaron.
Yes.
One thing I do every day, and it's actually in the evening, but I prepare for the next day the night before.
I love that. Tell us about that.
So at the end of the day, when I'm about to go to bed, or when I feel like it's my day is closing, or if I'm about to leave the office, I look at my calendar and just look at the next day and see what I have coming up. If I have appointments, if I have interviews, if I have different things, I will just prepare what I need before I leave the office or before I go to bed, depending on where I'm at, for what I need for those things that are taking place the following day. So if I have appointments, I'll set up my folders. If I have interviews, I'll look at resumes. I'll do the different things that I need to get done to make the next day successful.
Yes, thanks, Michael. And do you sleep better when you don't have those things now running through your head because you got them already the night before?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, I'll sometimes know I forgot something, so I shoot out of bed and then I'll just write it in my little notebook, because then it has to be out of my brain or I can't stop thinking about it. So I think that's huge. If you just take 5 minutes at night, just kind of preparing. Anyone who has kids, it's the same thing. Get the backpack, the lunch, all that ready the night before. If you had a job interview in the morning, you'd want to make sure you had your outfit prepared. I mean, it's no different than what we're doing here. Think about your day. You don't want to just wake up, head into the office, and see what the day brings. You want to be as prepared as possible. So, yeah, I love that. Anyone else? Anything they want to write down or share? Okay, we'll skip on to here. So I like this. We'll finish with this. So it's a complete formula for getting lucky. We got St. Patrick's Day coming up next month, but they talk about luck, and I do believe in luck, but I think it's this. I think it's preparation, which is partly personal growth, which is what we're all striving for every day. It's your attitude, so your belief and your mindset. So how do you handle things? It's what we talked about a little bit last week about life is 10% what's thrown at you and 90% how you handle it. So what is your attitude? How are you handling what life's throwing at you? Opportunity. So seeing a good thing coming your way. Sometimes that's even, seeing opportunities for pre-need out in the community. If you're out talking to people, are you making sure you're educating the public? If you talk to someone that's part of a church group, are you talking to them about setting up a lunch and learn or a seminar? But being open to those opportunities, and then finally just taking action. A lot of us can be placed in the right situations at the right times, but if we're not willing to take the action, nothing's going to come of it. So I've recorded this, so we'll send this out. But any thoughts or questions? I'm going to move to one other thing briefly, but from anyone about this part of it? Okay, so I'm going to close this. I just want to show, I know a lot of you have some seminars and events coming up. I just want to remind you about some of the tools we have in the CRM. So one of those is the ringless voicemail. This is actually Javier's system, but we are able, so you can kind of see White Emerson has a lunch and learn coming up. So I filtered by city. So I did these two cities here, Whittier and Pico Rivera, and Javier recorded a voicemail message, which we can help you do. It just takes less than 3 minutes. And then I was able to send out that voicemail message, which invited everyone to that lunch and learn. It's just a generic message that says, this is Javier with White Emerson. Wanted to invite you to our free lunch and learn seminar. That message then went out to 495 people. He within minutes, I think he got 6 or 7 phone calls. He's already had a couple people RSVP. But it's also good for aftercare follow-up, maybe people you haven't been able to reach. We have a very soft, very gentle script for aftercare, just introducing yourself, staying in touch with the family, that you can filter by flag. So you can go through by any of these and say, okay, I just want to now say, let's look at any source that's aftercare. So is aftercare. Now we can search for these and we could send out a ringless voicemail to all of your aftercare. We can even do a date range. So I just want to make sure you're aware of some of the tools as well as texting. I know you're starting to see some luck with that. Melanie and I were talking today about the importance of kind of doing multiple touch points. So if you send an email, maybe send them a text to let them know, or if you send a voicemail, reach out through email. You know, kind of multiple approaches seem to be working the best right now. So any thoughts about this from anyone, or what's working with the CRM as far as contact right now? Sounds like a motorcycle. Okay. For any of you that have anything coming up, or if you want to send out any ringless voicemails, just let us know. I've got some time this afternoon. I'm happy to help anyone. And otherwise, we'll kind of wrap it up a little bit early. Hopefully this was helpful for you all. Thank you for being on. Any last thoughts or questions about anything from anyone on the team before we wrap it up? Okay, I'll assume everyone's good. If you need anything, let us know. Let's keep the momentum. We're doing great. I mean, wow, way to go, Bill and Angie. Huge points. A lot of you were even close to 100. Keep that going. It will pay off. It always pays off. We're just so proud of all of you, and thank you for being on the team. Have a great day.